Once upon a time, an emperor ascended the throne, his heart full of good intentions. His reign began like a joyous sunrise, but then, as if a storm cloud had obscured the sun, it took a turn into a reign of apprehension. This emperor was none other than Caligula. Caligula, whose birth name was Gaius Caesar, was born on August 31st, 12 AD, in the beautiful Italian city of Antium. His father, Germanicus Julius Caesar, was a beloved and well-respected general in ancient Rome. He was even adopted by the Emperor Augustus and considered the heir to the throne, making him quite the important figure. Caligula's mother, Agrippina, was also a descendant of the mighty Emperor Augustus, adding to the family's prestigious lineage. With such an impressive family background, it's no wonder Caligula had big shoes to fill. Unfortunately, tragedy struck when Caligula's father passed away at the young age of 34. Some suspected foul play, with fingers pointing towards Emperor Tiberius. This event shook the Roman people, as Germanicus was not only adored by his soldiers but also respected by the entire empire. Even enemies like the Parthian king mourned his loss, highlighting the impact he had on both his own people and those beyond Roman borders. Caligula had quite an interesting upbringing, surrounded by soldiers and earning the nickname Caligula, which means little boots. The soldiers adored him and even carried him around in their own clothes. Such fondness from the soldiers surely made him feel special. After the passing of his father, Caligula lived with his mother and later with his paternal grandmother, adding new chapters to his life story. Unfortunately, his mother, Agrippina the Elder, faced a challenging time, being involved in a conflict with Emperor Tiberius that led to her exile and ultimately her demise. It was a difficult period for Caligula and his family. Caligula's older brothers, Nero Caesar and Drusus Caesar, were also adopted by Tiberius and were expected to be his successors. However, tensions arose between them and the emperor, leading to their tragic deaths. It was a somber time for Caligula, witnessing the loss of his loved ones. At the age of 19, Caligula was summoned to the palace of Capri where Tiberius resided. It was a significant moment for him as he donned men's robes for the first time and was officially recognized as Tiberius's adopted son. It marked a new chapter in his life, filled with both opportunities and challenges. During his time in the palace of Capri, Caligula navigated a delicate path, seeking to avoid suspicion and accusations like those that befell his brothers. However, some unsavory aspects of his character began to surface. There were instances where his inclination towards cruelty and shameful behavior became evident. Stories circulated of his mistreatment of prisoners and engaging in debauchery under disguises. Some tales even claimed that he callously threw innocent women and children off cliffs on the island of Capri for his amusement. After some time, following Tiberius's arrangements, Caligula married Julia Claudia, the daughter of the esteemed consul Marcus Silanus. Sadly, their marriage was short-lived as Julia passed away during childbirth, adding another layer of sorrow to Caligula's life. In the wake of his wife's death, Caligula became entangled with Innia Naevia, the wife of Macro, the commander of the Praetorian Guard. Innia Naevia enticed Caligula with promises of marriage and even provided written commitments to support his ascension to the throne. With her assistance, Caligula approached Macro, and together they orchestrated a plan to poison Tiberius. Even while Tiberius was still alive, Caligula ordered the removal of his ring, and eventually, in his final moments, suffocation occurred. After assuming power, Caligula initially garnered immense popularity among the Roman people who were weary of the cruelty of Tiberius. They remembered his father, Germanicus, and empathized with the sufferings endured by his family. The soldiers, many of whom had known Caligula since his childhood, were particularly fond of him. Their support was evident when, at Tiberius's funeral, the crowd joyously shouted Caligula's name. Although Tiberius had designated his other grandson as a joint heir, Caligula and Cinna disregarded this and seized complete control. Caligula swiftly embarked on a journey to the islands of Pandatria and Pontius to retrieve the ashes of his mother and brothers, braving a stormy season. This act demonstrated his deep connection to his family. Additionally, he organized various games in honor of his mother, following ancient Roman traditions, and named the month of September after his father, Germanicus. In an effort to enhance his popularity, Caligula made several decisions. He released convicts and exiles, granting pardons to those who had been condemned during the previous regime. He also resumed the practice initiated by Augustus of providing the people with details of the imperial economy, which had been discontinued under Tiberius. Furthermore, he implemented reforms and undertook other beneficial measures. Up until this point, our story has focused on Caligula as an emperor. However, the following chapters depict Caligula's darker side and his descent into monstrosity. A few months into his reign, when Caligula was at the peak of his popularity and power, he issued an order that marked the beginning of his monstrous behavior. During a ceremony honoring the king's subject to the Roman Empire, he overheard them discussing their noble lineages. This sparked a desire within him to claim the crown and declare himself the greatest among all kings. However, his advisors intervened, reminding him that the position of emperor held greater significance than that of any king. Although he momentarily retreated, he soon began to assert his own godlike glory and might. Caligula ordered the removal of statues of revered gods, which were revered due to their religious significance. Renowned artists like Thetis were commissioned to replace the heads of these statues with Caligula's own likeness. He transformed the grand temples of Rome into his personal palaces and even constructed a temple in his own name, appointing priests to serve in it. He conducted extravagant sacrifices and audaciously invited the full moon to his bed at night, engaging in conversations with Jupiter himself and even issuing threats. The tale of Caligula portrays the darker side of his reign, characterized by his megalomania and delusions of divinity. It serves as a reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of temperance and humility in leadership. Later on, Caligula's behavior took a darker turn, with his actions and words becoming increasingly malicious. He began spreading slanderous rumors about his paternal and maternal grandmothers, even suggesting that Agrippa was the result of an adulterous affair between Augustus and his daughter Julia. Some accounts even claim that he poisoned his paternal grandmother and didn't attend her funeral. Caligula's godfather and brother Tiberius faced an abrupt end as well. Caligula, acting as a military tribune, made a sudden decision to have Tiberius's grandson killed. He also forced his father-in-law Silanus to take his own life. Among the members of the royal family, only his uncle Claudius, who had a stutter and was often mocked, was spared. When Caligula's beloved sister Drusilla passed away, rumors of their incestuous relationship circulated. Caligula declared a period of public mourning. During this time, he issued strict decrees with laughter, bathing and dining with one's parents and spouse being punishable by death. He held a certain disdain for his other sisters and subjected them to forced cohabitation with slaves. Caligula's most scandalous episodes revolved around his marriages. For instance, during his second marriage to Livia Urstilla, he attended her wedding to Gaius of Pisa as a guest, and then ordered her to be taken to his residence that very night, claiming he had found a more suitable wife. Only days later, he divorced her and eventually exiled her. In another peculiar incident, Caligula heard someone remark that Lulia Paulina's grandmother was exceptionally beautiful in her youth. Upon hearing this, he immediately summoned Lulia and her husband Gaius Mimas, a former consul, and divorced her from her husband, marrying her himself. However, he quickly grew disinterested, divorced her, and forbade her from associating with anyone. Finally, Caligula married his fourth wife, Caesonia, who, although not renowned for her beauty and having 3 children from a prior marriage, loved him wholeheartedly. She would often be seen wearing military attire alongside him, and even engaged in extravagant displays, such as parading him naked in front of their friends. Despite his loyalty to Caesonia, Caligula didn't refrain from pursuing relationships with women from prominent families. These accounts paint a picture of Caligula's increasingly erratic behavior and questionable choices in his personal life. In his extravagant ways, Caligula spared no expense. Stories circulated that all the dishes in his palace were made of gold as per his orders. He even went so far as to pour gold coins onto people's heads from the top of Julia's hall for a few days, delighting in his lavishness. However, these excessive displays quickly depleted the treasury, leaving Caligula facing financial difficulties. To address the empty coffers, Caligula implemented numerous taxes and levies on various goods and individuals. He even went as far as to require that everyone include his name as their heir in their wills, declaring any will without his name invalid. These measures were aimed at replenishing the treasury and securing his position. While Caligula's military campaigns were largely unsuccessful, there was one moment of triumph. He celebrated the surrender of Adaminaeus, the exiled son of the King of Britain, with great pomp and sent word of his victory back to Rome. In one of his more peculiar acts, Caligula ordered his troops to assemble for battle. Curiously, instead of engaging in warfare, he instructed them to collect seashells and fill their hats and robes with them. To commemorate this victory, he even commissioned the construction of a sea tower resembling the famous Tower of Alexandria. It was an unusual celebration, reminiscent of the grand rituals performed by esteemed commanders after significant military triumphs. There were darker plans brewing in Caligula's mind as well. He had intentions of executing many senators and a large number of Roman knights. However, fate intervened, and he was unable to carry out these deadly schemes. On January 24th, 42 AD, Caligula ventured outside to watch a play, encouraged by his friends. However, due to the illness of the lead actor, he had to cut short his outing and return home. On his way back, tragedy struck. One of the commanders of the emperor's guard struck Caligula from behind with a sword, causing him to fall to the ground. Despite his cries that he was still alive, several others descended upon him with daggers, ultimately ending his life. Thus, at the young age of 29, after a reign of 3 years and 10 months, the life of the mad emperor came to an end. Well, friends, thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel and comment your opinion about this video. Until next time.